Welcome to my review of Dell Venue Pro. I'm going to be reviewing it in combination with the Ipega 19 to 823 gamepad, and I'm going to look at it as one of the options for those who want to be able to play PC games on the go. Actually, for me it's a very important solution, it's a very important thing, because I have been searching for such a solution for a couple of years already, and when I first heard about Windows 8 tablets, I thought about gaming, and the first thing I bought was Microsoft Surface Pro. And while it was quite a good solution for some turn-based games, for example Heroes of Might and Magic, you really couldn't play any action games, any arcade games on the go, because there was no attachable controller for it. And actually nowadays there is no attachable controllers for it either. You see, it's basically still in the very early stages of it. So the Microsoft Surface Pro experience wasn't really satisfying, because it was very hard to be able to play games which required quick reactions, and sometimes one of the solutions I had was to use the on-screen keyboard and run a game in a windowed mode, but obviously it wasn't really satisfactory. And the second thing I bought was the Razer Edge Pro. On the one hand, it was a tablet designed for gamers specifically, so it had some powerful hardware, and it had a controller mount that actually was very good if combined with the tablet itself, but it had some downsides as well. The first thing I really disliked about the Razer Edge was its battery life. You could only play about 1 hour of games on that, so if a game was pretty intense, it just cost you a lot of power, and basically you could play the game maybe for 50 minutes sometimes, which isn't even enough for a daily commute of mine, for example. And the second thing I disliked about it was its huge size. It was just enormous, and it couldn't even fit into my bag, and I do have large bags, to be honest with you. So anyway, here's the Dell 8 Pro, and I've had it for about a month now, and I actually saw some people on YouTube doing videos of this thing and saying whether it's good or not for gaming, and I know that there are already some reviews of it, but I'm going to go maybe a little bit further than the others, and I'm going to try to create a list of games compatible with this device, and maybe with some other devices, especially those that have some similar specs. And I'm going to be posting it online, updating it, and also taking requests for you actually to be able to understand what kind of games you can get for this one, because sometimes this is actually counterintuitive, as we will see. Some games are going to be compatible with this hardware and software that it runs. Some games are going to be barely compatible, even though their requirements of those games will be seemingly low, and some even newer games will be running surprisingly well. So it's actually just a matter of trial and error sometimes. Okay then, so here's the tablet itself, for those of you who don't know anything about it. It has 2 GB of RAM, so it's running a 32-bit Windows 8 system, 8.1, and it has a processor which isn't very fast but not too slow either. So it's Intel Atom, and since it is Intel Atom, you are going to see that it's actually very good in terms of power saving, right? Okay, so here's the controller I'm using. It's called Ipega 9023. and it has all the buttons that a classical Microsoft Xbox 360 controller has, or a PS3 controller maybe, and Xbox One, PS4 controllers. Well, they have basically similar buttons. So here I've got two analog sticks. You've got a D-pad. You've got the usual buttons, X, Y, A, B, and here I've got the shoulder buttons and the triggers. Unfortunately, the triggers are not analog in this case, which might be bad, for example, if you are playing, say, some racing games where very often you attach gas to R2 button. Yeah, but this is perhaps the only downside that this thing has, except for the build quality, which I will talk about later. So let's get it here. As you can see, the tablet, it has an 8-inch screen, and this one can stretch to contain a 10-inch tablet, but the tablet should be rather narrow, I would say, right? It cannot be very wide, and it can be very thick, right? It can be very thick, which is a downside. For example, my Microsoft Surface Pro can technically fit here, yeah, but it cannot fit here in this dimension, right? Okay, so let's put it in the tablet. And as you can see, this tablet has a slightly unusual placement of buttons. And okay, let's focus. Right. Okay. So these are the volume buttons, and that's the power button. This is the mini USB. This one doesn't have a USB host, unfortunately, but maybe again for the reasons of power saving. And this is the start button, right? That's really weird. And when I read reviews of this tablet, I saw that many people were saying that it's a really weird solution. But actually that's okay, that's fine by me. And in this combination, the only thing that we can dislike slightly, maybe, is that, okay, is the fact that if you just push it here completely so that it can be held by this thing, you will be blocking the headphones jack, right? So in order to do that, you have to lift the tablet slightly, a little bit. Actually, it doesn't prevent it from being held correctly. So yeah, anyway, it's very stable, right? And now we have access to the headphone jack. Okay, right, maybe you can see it clearly, but yeah, here it is. Okay, so about the games, I'm going to demonstrate some games that I have already installed, some games from my collection, and I'm going to say which games run better than the others, which games have some compatibility issues, and also we're going to see what different things you have to do with the input method in order to get the best experience that you can. Because there is some kind of fiddling with settings sometimes involved. Okay then, so let's start with talking about different options for input. Okay, first of all, you should know that this Ipega 1923 is not using Xinput, which is used for most modern games, which is based again on the Xbox 360 controller. Actually, it's using direct input, which is sometimes not recognized by some games. And the thing that you can do, the solution, the very good solution that you can have, is to use x360ce. This is a program that you can get for free, and using this free program you can basically emulate an Xbox 360 controller using any kind of device that you have, any kind of direct input device. So let's take a look at it. Okay, so here it is. So as far as you can see, I just needed to run it, and I have already selected a profile for it. But if we go here, probably not here, but here, yeah, that's right. If you go to controller settings, you will have your controller listed here, and then you have to click most popular settings for my controllers, because it will be automatically identified. And there is already, you see, the top setting for it. There are only 76 users, as you can see, so it's not extremely popular. It's still something which is in its very early stage, and hopefully it will see development. I mean, tablet PC gaming on the go, because this is an amazing thing, as you will see. So anyway, you just select this profile, and there you have a full emulation of an Xbox 360 controller. So here it is, and let's see how well it's emulated. For example, here you have got this analog stick, and it really is analog, so it means that the further you press, the further you will go. Okay. For example, if we are talking about moving your character or looking somewhere, yes, so it's a real analog stick, which is good, and it's properly emulated. The second analog stick also works well. We've got the D-pad. Okay, you've got the buttons. Here they are. Actually, these also act as buttons, as you understand. Okay, these buttons and the triggers. Okay, that's it. So it works perfectly. Oh yes, and also you have start and select. They also do work. Okay, so you say, fine, how can I use this program? I just run it, leave it open, and it's going to emulate the Xbox 360 controller. No, actually it doesn't work in this way. It's a little bit more difficult. So you have to select the files. You have to first download, then configure them, and then you have to select them and copy them into the folder of the game, of each individual game that you want to be using it for. Okay, so for example, let's say we want to be using it in Pinball FX2. So we take these files and we copy them here, and since we have done that, we don't have to run any programs, we don't have to manually launch this emulator. It will be working automatically. Okay, so let's take a look at how it works. So as far as you can see, once again, I didn't run any particular programs. I'm just launching the game Pinball FX2. But sorry. Okay, so already you can see that it works, because it tells you press A to continue, and A has this green color, which is specific for the Xbox 360 controller. And here we go. We don't have to manually configure our input, so it's ready for play. Okay. So this is actually the first game we're going to be testing, Pinball FX2. The game runs in its native resolution. By the way, the native resolution of this tablet is 1200 by 800, which is a little bit strange at first, but actually this is 16 by 10. It's widescreen, not the classical 16 by 9, but 16 by 10, and actually Dell loves making tablets with 16 by 10, because they usually believe that 16 by 9 is just for entertainment, you know, for the widescreen movies and such, so on and so forth. But 16 by 10 is a little bit more suitable for business people and such. But ironically, this is actually better for retro gaming, because you will see that many games have the original non-widescreen resolution, such as, for example, 800 by 600 or 1024 by 768. And the thing that it means for us is that we can get closer to the original aspect ratio, right? But at the same time, we don't get too far away from the widescreen experience. So, once again, in terms of performance, the performance is amazing. There are some tables where it's not as good as in the others, but everything is turned on, except, by the way, except for reflections, right? I just decided to not sacrifice performance for the sake of some additional visual effect, which isn't very important. So the game runs at an amazing speed, and I do know that it exists for some versions for Android, let's say, or maybe for the iPad, I don't know. And anyway, I like it here on PC, because PC gives you the best graphics anyway. PC gives you the best experience usually. You have a huge variety of tables. And oh yes, I totally forgot how to shoot the ball, because at first I was using this with Joy to Key, and later I will show you what this is, what the input method it is. And in Joy to Key we had another key to launch the ball, which was down on the D-pad. Okay, so once again, as you can see, this experience is simply amazing. It's really high quality. There are no slowdowns, no glitches, nothing like that. Let me show you another table. There was one table where there was, I would say, minor slowdown. I'm not sure whether it was Moon Knight or something else, but you just felt that it was slowing down just a little bit from time to time. Okay, let's see. No, it probably wasn't Moon Knight. But who cares? So, actually, once again, keep in mind that this game is fairly new. It's from 2013. But it runs amazingly. There are no compatibility issues, no performance issues, nothing like that at all. I'll tell you even more. The upside of it being a tablet is that you can actually rotate it, and how do I do that? Yeah. Okay. So, what do we do? That. Then we adjust the grip here. Okay. And here we go. Simply amazing. It's still playable, right? Well, it doesn't really fit into my camera, yeah, but you can see that it is possible to play this way. Okay. Yeah. So you see, simply amazing. Well, of course I'm gonna lose because I'm holding a camera with one hand and trying to play with another, but anyway. It's only on a tablet that you can get that. Yeah, of course you cannot do that with your desktop PC. You probably can do that with your laptop, but it's going to look a little bit ugly as a solution. Okay then, so let's look at another game. Oh, by the way, I should tell you that for the purposes of my comfort, I just went to driver settings and I decided to rotate the image orientation. So, you know, the default one, by the way, which is a little bit strange, the default screen orientation for this tablet is this one, right? So this is considered to be 0 degrees, right? And it came like that, yeah? So the default rotation is that. But there are some reasons why I don't like that, and as you can see, one of them is having this start button and the headphone jack over here, right? So I decided to rotate it so that it is more comfortable for me. Okay, so this was the first game. This was the Pinball FX2. Really nice pinball. Amazing selection of tables. They're not real tables though, right? But if you want that, you can, for example, use Pinball Arcade. It's actually a game that I also have, and I will demonstrate it in perhaps one of the next videos. So once again, those who are watching this, if you want me to test some game to see if it's compatible, yeah, to see if you can play one of your favorite games or one of the newer games that you don't have yet on this tablet, or maybe some tablets of a similar configuration. For example, I know that there is an Asus tablet with a similar configuration, a Toshiba tablet and a Lenovo tablet. So different manufacturers have very similar tablets with similar characteristics, although I think that this Dell Venue Pro is still the most powerful of them. So anyway, if you have some games you would like to see whether they work or not, just send me a message or write a comment about that. Okay, so this was our first game, and let's move on.